welcome to BizTech's Enterprise Technology Show. Now, today we feature Amitha Pulijala. She is the Vice President of Product, Video, Voice APIs, and Partnerships at Vonage. Now, Vonage is a global cloud communications leader helping businesses accelerate their digital transformation. Now, to tell us a little bit more about Vonage and some key industry trends, welcome to the show, Amitha.
Thank you, Brian. My pleasure. Happy to be
Amitha,
here.
for a start, could you give us an overview of Vonage and your role within the company?
Absolutely. So Vonage Communications Platform, or VCP, is provides communication APIs to empower developers and enterprises to easily integrate communication capabilities and functionalities into their existing products, applications, or workflows. So we work with different APIs. As you mentioned, we have voice, video, messaging APIs, and we work with a broad set of developers and customers who use our APIs to build very, very innovative applications. And my role within Vonage is I manage the Vonage products, the video and API products. I work with our customers, and also I work with our partners and large partnerships as well. Essentially, I've been in this industry for over a decade, and it's very innovative in the sense that we work with developers. You never know what developers can build with the APIs. So that's the interesting part of my job.
Now, so Amitha, I want to zoom in on that. So you talked about really innovative stuff, and there's a lot of innovative stuff happening in terms of video and APIs and video APIs and so forth. Could you share how people are using your solutions really to push the boundaries of innovation?
Sure. And let me start with a few examples, right? So think about you hailing a cab or a ride share, and you get a notification that your driver has arrived, and there is Vonage behind that notification. So customers use our Messages API to send you a message, SMS message, or a notification through their rideshare application to say that the driver has arrived, right? And let's say you are ordering pizza through your favorite pizza company, and you call them up, and there is a bot that asks you what kind of pizza that you want and what kind of toppings that you want, or might even recognize you based on your phone number and pre-order the pizza based on your preferences. And there is Vonage Voice APIs and Vonage AI behind that. And let's say you are going to a doctor, you get a notification that, hey, you have a doctor appointment tomorrow at so-and-so time. So that notification, whether it's SMS, there's Vonage behind that, right? And also telehealth, right? So now during pandemic, telehealth and the usage of telehealth applications has risen quite a bit. And essentially, when you are talking to a doctor over the telehealth application, that video call is powered by Vonage video APIs. So these are some kind of APIs, examples of the APIs that different applications use. And in fact, actually, the innovation that I was talking about goes far beyond that. So we have customers using our video APIs in drones, and there is a drone platform that uses our video APIs, and we have like a automated delivery bot.
Actually, can I stop you here, because this is really fascinating. How are customers in the drone sector using your API to push the envelope of innovation?
Absolutely. So essentially, when you have drones, the drones actually need to navigate their way, and there is a computer vision that is necessary for them to navigate their way, and also stream what they are actually navigating to the remote control stations. Yes. And that streaming is done using our video API.
Interesting, fascinating. I would not have thought that Vonage did that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's where I think when I say APIs, Now, APIs essentially have become the integral part of any software architecture and design, right? And when you give the power of these APIs to developers, they can use it in any of these innovative applications.
Now, Amitha, then APIs are one aspect, but you already touched on the other aspect of innovation is really around AI and how that is changing the landscape. How are you seeing that impacting Vonage's business?
In every possible way, for sure. AI has a big impact in whatever we do. And AI we don't see AI as a separate channel by itself. AI is actually integrated into all our channels. So to give you some examples, as I said, the smart bots, right? Or virtual assistants. We have our customers in contact centers using our APIs. And there are variety of AI applications that they use along with our APIs, like summary of the call, right? That's one very popular AI driven tool that they use. And we have our customers using us for remote patient monitoring, right? So when in the healthcare space, when you are monitoring the patient remotely, even if the patient moves on the bed, there should be some AI detecting that movement and sending capability or sending the notification to the doctor or nurse who is monitoring the patient. And then we have AI that are used in things like noise suppression, backgrounds, AI that we use for translation, transcription of voice, and so on. So AI is sort of a underpinning across all our APIs. And interestingly, we have a very easy tool called AI Studio, where it's a drag and drop tool that is specifically designed for developers. It's a no-code tool where you can drag and drop and create the workflows that have AI aspects embedded into the messaging and communication APIs as well.
Now, Amitha, this sounds fascinating because obviously you are the picks and shovels person that enables really innovation to take place across the different landscapes. What are the and through your lens out of the US, and you have a global lens, what are the key global trends that you're seeing in the space that Vonage is operating in?
Absolutely. And I would, at this point of time, I would say that, Vonage has been acquired by Ericsson very recently.
Mhm.
And one of the trends that we see, we certainly see the trends in communication APIs. A lot of customers are now building applications and workflows where they want to have communications as part of their workflow, right? So certainly there's a lot of digitalization that's happening, and every industry is getting digitalized, and they are embedding these communication APIs. But what is interesting, and this is very, very innovative space in the industry, is 5G, right?
Yes.
So 5G is very key to digital infrastructure, and it is enabling the future digitalization of the society as a whole, right? So imagine connecting everything, right? And when everything is connected, you can optimize the supply chains, you can provide newer and better services like remote patient monitoring, connected vehicles, you can have connected schools, provide education, more better education. And essentially, this is really transforming the society. And we talk a lot about AI, and AI is actually the underpinning under everything that I said, right? But one aspect as Vonage that we see is our networks are becoming more open, more flexible, more sustainable, and more intelligent, right? So we are certainly looking at how do we unlock that power of 5G and 5G innovation for telecom operators so that it provides a new monetization opportunity for them in addition to the subscriber revenue, right? So this is essentially for telecom operators to actually expose that network capabilities, the 5G network capabilities as APIs, right? So that's one end of the spectrum that we work with as Ericsson. And as Vonage, the other end of spectrum that we work with are developers, as I said, right? So now, essentially, we talked about developers, we talked about innovation. Now, how can developers use those network capabilities? So far, those network capabilities were really a black box, right?
Yes.
Nobody had access to those network capabilities. So now, how do I really utilize those network capabilities to provide better experiences to my end users, right? So how do I take those capabilities, take those APIs, make my applications better, and provide better customer experiences to my end users? So I think we are working on two ends of the spectrum, and we are seeing this big trend of the open networks, the flexibility, and I think we are at a very, very interesting place today where we are really driving that transformation in the industry.
Now, Amitha, as you were talking about that, I kept thinking again, this Ericsson Vonage, I wouldn't say marriage, it's the acquisition of Vonage opens up particular applications. And because of 5G, of course, and 5G is being rolled out at different rates around the world. In Asia, it's probably a little bit faster than some other parts of the world, like North America. But one of the key things it unlocks really is in the industrial space. And this is how it gets really interesting. Industry 4.0, IR 5.0 applications, and how they are all interconnected together. Could you kind of give the audience some insights into some of the innovations that are possible in this space because of 5G and because of AI?
Absolutely. So essentially, I would touch upon 2 points here, Brian. So one is, there is certainly innovation that's possible in many areas, and I'll touch upon that in a bit. And the second point I also want to make is the current applications that the customers have, how can they be improved, enhanced with the 5G capabilities as well? So it's not like you are building you have to build a completely new suite of applications, but there are current applications that you can enhance with 5G capabilities as well. So let me give you a few examples there, right? So when we are talking about the new 5G capabilities, what that will allow you to do. So certainly we are seeing autonomous vehicles and the innovation that's happening there. And that's the need where there is a lot of need of connectivity and how you can connect to the network. And 5G definitely allows that with low latency, more data capacity. When you are talking about autonomous vehicles or autonomous drones and how you orchestrate these kind of devices. So certainly that's one part of the industry where 5G really has innovation driving the innovation. The other one I would say is, the extended reality or industrial extended reality, where you are, essentially creating digital twins, collaborative designs across, various people who are at different locations in the globe, right? Where you are creating that collaboration using these XR applications. And then there is gaming, right? So how do you make the gaming platforms better and faster, better with low latency, and things like remote patient monitoring that we have talked about. Again, connected devices and low latency, low streaming, so that you can provide better services and so on. So those are the areas where I think 5G certainly drives the innovation. So things that you were not able to do before, you are certainly able to do with 5G and the innovation that it drives. So, but I think the other thing that I would talk about, not just in terms of 5G, but in terms of exposing the network APIs, right? So one one of the things that we recently announced is the network API for SIM swap and number verification. And these are essentially the ones, let's say you have a finance industry. Finance industry, one of the biggest problems in finance industry is fraud, right? So people tend to, there is SIM swap, SIM attacks where people will convince the operators that to swap your SIM into their device, and they get the OTPs and they steal your passwords and the information. So that's one big problem. So far, I think detecting SIM swap was not easy. Now with network APIs, any financial industry application can now directly tap into the network and see if there was a SIM swap attack, right? Especially when you are doing high value transactions. It's very essential to see if that is a fraudulent transaction or not, right? So this is, again, existing application, very relevant, millions of subscribers using that application. How do you actually tap into that network and utilize those network resources? I think that's one example. And number verification, again, today, the verification piece is has a lot of friction, right? You sign up into a service, you get an OTP, you take that code, you have to put it in the application, and the application authenticates you. But what if this all happens automatically, right? Where you don't have to put any numbers. The application directly goes to the network with your number and verifies that you are the person who is making that transaction. Totally frictionless, right? And totally spam proof, right? A spoof proof. I mean, so these are the things that are also possible, and things like the network density would come very handy for marketing applications. What is the density of people in a certain concert, and you can, or in a mall, and you can send the marketing messages to them, or something like quality of service on demand, right? Where, when you are in a congested network, how can you get a priority service in the congested network? I think these are all the things where you have existing applications today, but how can you provide a much better customer experience to your end users with the capabilities that now you have, you can tap into the network and now you have access to.
Now, Amitha, then, given all this technology, these solutions and stuff, part of your remit then is obviously to put the partnerships together and manage them and make sure that your go-to-market strategy works. Give us a sense of, in 2024, some of the key partners that you're working with across the world, particularly in the Asia Pacific region, and some of the initiatives that you're involved in.
Absolutely. So as I said, with Vonage and Ericsson, so certainly we have CPaaS APIs, we have network APIs, and a combination of that, the CPaaS and network, where we are combining some of our, the network APIs like SIM swap and number verification with our messaging API to prevent fraud, for example, the example that I gave you. And also, with our voice and video APIs, where we tap into the network and bring out a better quality of service, right? So we are certainly working on a number of these kind of use cases and solutions. And for us, right, as an API provider, it's always a two-sided market, right? So we work with developers. We need a lot of customers, enterprises, developers willing to use our APIs. Yes. At the same time, the other side of the marketplace is really the telecom operators who are providing these capabilities, these APIs. So certainly we are working with a lot of telecom operators across the world, helping them, whether it's 5G or 4G, depending on the capabilities that we have, helping them expose their network capabilities as APIs. And essentially, a lot of these telecom operators are also working with GSMA to standardize those capabilities. So once those are standardized, so what we do is we hide all the complexity of multiple networks and the network capabilities in different versions and so on, and we expose that standardized API to developers. So a developer or an enterprise using our APIs, they don't really have to really care about the complexity or really care about whether their service is available only in Singapore or whether their service is only available in Indonesia. So we provide that aggregation layer where we aggregate across all telecom operators, and we provide a simple API, just like SMS API or just like location API that they can get with Apple or Google. We provide a simple API that they can take and use it in their enterprise services as part of their workflow. So certainly, as I said, we are working with the telecom operators. We are working with large enterprise providers in financial industry, in healthcare industry, who have this need, who have the capability to integrate. And of course, we are working with hyperscalers. One of the recent announcements that we made is a partnership with AWS.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting partnership because what we've done with AWS is we created a joint fraud protection solution. And this joint fraud protection solution, it is used in multiple use cases, as I said, for a company when they are using user registration to detect fraud and verification of the user, when they are when they are onboarding users, or during the customer login, or during transactions. Everywhere you need to figure out whether this is the right customer, if there has been a fraud attack or not. So these are certain use cases and very much proved pain point in the industry. Fraud is a biggest pain point in the industry. So we thought this is a good solution, joint solution that we can work with AWS. Now, how does that partnership work, right? So we as Vonage, we have the communication APIs, and we also bring in the network API. So Vonage brings in the fraud defender solution, and we have the SIM swap API. We have the network verification API that we bring to the solution, and we integrate that with AWS. AWS, as you know, has different cloud services. So we integrate that with the Gen AI capabilities of AWS, the Bedrock capabilities. And we also integrate with AWS Amazon Recognize. So that forms a very good solution, because let's say a customer is logging into a bank, right? Is registering for a large financial company or a bank. So the bank wants to make sure this is the person to verify the customer, verify the person who is creating an account. So they can do a fraud to see if that number that they have given is a fraudulent number or not. And then they can do a SIM swap check, whether it's they have been spoofed with SIM, and any other device has actually taken over the SIM. And then they can also do the number verification to authenticate based on the number. And then all this data is fed into generative AI, so that the generative AI will create a profile for the customer, right? Depending on, okay, this customer is located in Singapore. This person logs in usually between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. And these are the location from which this person makes transactions. So all that profile is created with Gen AI, so that when any kind of fraudulent activity comes in, you just know that you have to re-authenticate the user or block that user, right? So this is actually the very interesting partnership, because we have the network API, so we are tapping into the CSP or the telecom operator network to do the number verification and so on, and we are tapping into the communication APIs for doing the fraud detection and so on. And then we are also using, some of the AWS capabilities, like, the liveness check and Amazon recognize capabilities along with GenAI. So this is a very, very strong solution that is now available in the AWS marketplace for the customers. And AWS has thousands of customers who have access to the marketplace. So this is really a way where we can provide that scale to the APIs that we expose as well.
Now, Amitha, this has been a fascinating conversation. We've unpacked a lot of information for our audience to digest. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
Definitely. What I would say is, definitely 5G capabilities, as I said, are driving a lot of innovation, a lot of digitalization. And, with network APIs, the key that we work with, the key is exposing new capabilities to developers from within that 5G network, right? So within 5G network, we expose that capabilities that they have never seen before, or that they have never been available, right? So these are new, and this will essentially make the applications network aware, and it'll provide new network information, and it'll enable development of new class of applications. And this is what, Brian, we have discussed before as well. What are those new applications that it'll enable? What are those kind of applications that it'll enhance? So certainly, these are the network capabilities that we are exposing, which will provide our customers, developers, with new capabilities. At the same time, we are helping our telecom operator partners in monetizing their networks. So far, I think that most of their monetization came from subscriptions, right? Now, this is a new path for our telecom operators and partners to monetize using those APIs. And then we are working with hyperscalers to not only expose this to our own developer ecosystem, and we have about 1.5 million developers within Vonage ecosystem, but we are exposing it to millions of developers who are also using the hyperscaler cloud infrastructure and so on. So certainly, we'll certainly uncover new capabilities moving forward, innovations, and moving forward, we expect to see a lot of immersive use cases around optimized logistics and new solutions, new gaming applications with capabilities like quality on demand and so on. And with AWS, we will drive new industrial and enterprise applications to create new product offerings that will also enhance the customer engagements and customer experiences.
Amitha, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
My pleasure, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Now, I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to Amitha Pulijala. She's the Vice President of Product, Video, Voice APIs, and Partnerships at Vonage. And this has been BizTech's Enterprise Technology Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.